Okay, so what is good, everyone? Welcome back. I'm NLG, and today we're going to be talking about what exactly I'm going to do when it comes to how I'm going to level from 70 to 80. I know that this is probably not what you would expect, considering most of the content that I post where I'm rank 1 parsing everything. But when it comes to leveling, I'm not a person that enjoys sitting and doing just leveling. To me is more of a mundane task. I personally, I just really hate leveling. I want to get it over with, but at the same time, I'm not the kind of person that goes absolute sweatlord and learns every quest and has weak auras for every single quest. That's just not my style. It doesn't make any sense to me that you would put in, hours and hours of theory crafting and whatnot just to shave off another 10 minutes from your leveling run. With that being kind of the framework, I'm going to share with you my leveling, what exactly I want to do. Basically, it's just going to be questing as well as weaving in a bunch of dungeons. And I'm going to have a spec that I'm going to use, and hopefully the dual spec is going to be available either in pre-patch or at the very least by launch. And if that's the case, then I'll definitely have a dual spec just for demonology in dungeons. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so this is just how I would level as an Affliction Lock whenever I'm just running around questing. The power of Affliction Lock is really just in your own self-healing. This spec is actually wrong. I wouldn't even run this spec, but it's just even going to prove my point even more. Basically, this gear is... if you were to boost a character straight to level 70, this is basically the equivalent gear of what you're going to get. If you look at my spell power and you compare that to a level 70, I mean, most of you guys are going to be in at least like ZA or Kara gear or something like that. So you probably have better stats than this. But yeah, just to showcase what I would do when I'm leveling, literally all I do, you can pull an unlimited amount of mobs. You can have your pet on auto attack. Ideally, you have your life tap up. You can just pull absolutely everything. Get over here. So I just pulled like 10 mobs. Boom, hellfire, and everything dies. And again, this is complete solo. This is bad gear. If I needed it to heal, I can just stop casting the hellfire a little bit early, but realistically I can just keep going. I can just do this all freaking day. You also have death coil to heal up, so right there I went right to full health. And just to finish this off, boom, real easy. Okay, so this is the only one of the only parts that's going to be really try hard for me. I will be doing a 25 quest like before the day of release, and I'll just have them really ready to turn in. I don't see it as that big of an investment, and I mean, I haven't even done the Sunwell dailies before. My character is in literally greens, but I would imagine that all of the quests that you do out here are probably turned in the same area. I've been looking at that quest guide that everybody's shilling. I'm pretty sure that one recommends that you do like like it assumes that you're trying for realm first, and I think it tells you to do like the mag's lair, eye key. So I'm not gonna do a bunch of those raid dungeon quest turn-ins that give you like 10k more XP. I think that's just a massive waste of time. But I do think that doing 25 Sunwell dailies is, I mean, it's essentially like doing 25 quests once, after release. So, I mean, you may as well just do it while there's no competition or anything. Okay, so now that you've turned in all your quests, the route that I want to go is basically those 25 quests that you turned in probably netted you around 30 to 40% of level 70 to 71. So now what I want to do, I don't want to immediately go into the starting zones. I think that that's going to be when it's most congested. I actually do want to dungeon grind just a little bit. I think that having like a pre-set up group before launch could probably help, but I'm also not too worried because I think there's going to be a ton of people right outside of Utgard Keep, especially looking for like warlocks and stuff. But for this part of it, from 70 to 71, the remaining experience that I need from 70 to 71, I'm going to be playing Demonology. Another thing to note is that I'm actually coming into Orgrimmar just to make sure that I have dual spec. If that's available in pre-patch, then obviously I would get that ahead of time. Okay, so now that you've dungeon grinded a little bit as Demonology, you managed to hit level 71. You also did the Utgard Keep quest. It's time to stop grinding dungeons real quick because you want to at least have some sanity by the time you hit level 80. So what I usually do is at level 71, what I'm assuming is that the questing areas at the starting zone, not for Howling Fjord, but for Borean Tundra, I think that these starting zones will be a little bit less congested. So at 71, I'm going to come here. So yeah, you're actually going to be playing as Affliction for a little bit. You won't be needing to respec too much. Again, if we have dual spec, this is all kind of a non-issue. But if you're poor or if dual spec isn't in the game, then I would just go ahead and respec. And yeah, you can stay Affliction. But the first zone is going to be Warsong Hold if you're Horde. It's going to be somewhere down here if you're Alliance. But the good part about doing these questing zones is that you end up getting a bunch of reputation for Corintor eventually. And Corintor is one of the reps that you're going to want your pre-raid bis weapon from. Here we go. So yeah, your pre-raid bis weapon, assuming that Titan Steel Spellblade isn't going to be in, is going to be this from Corintor rep. It's from Revered. First questing zone, I start around Warsong Hold. Warsong Hold is going to bring you to this next area over here. It's like Torp's Farm. I don't know the names of these places. But then there's also this area over here in the fog. There is a few other areas that this leads off to, but specifically this area is usually not that congested. And I don't think it'll be that congested on release. But yeah, there's tons of quests over here. So you start Warsong Hold, you come over here, and then where you start getting Corintor rep is around Amber Ledge. So yeah, I'm personally, for level 71, I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to go to Garrosh's Landing. I'll do a few more of these quests down here, the little mammoth dudes, and then I'm going to come up to Amber Ledge. Okay, so now that you're at Amber Ledge, there's a bunch of different areas over here that give Corintor rep. So yeah, you definitely, I mean, you can't skip these, but you definitely want to at least do some of these. Here's the thing is that at level 80, if you don't end up getting friendly with some of these reputations, you're going to have to come back and do these anyway. So yeah, I vouch to do the Amber Ledge quest hub. There's probably about 10 or 15 quests there. Once you do Amber Ledge, it's going to lead off to a bunch of quests right around the Nexus dungeon. So before you actually go to the Nexus area and start questing there, the quest that leads you there is going to be from this Drake guy over here. Before you do that, so you're going to do most of the Amber Ledge quests, and you're actually going to come over here and do the Murloc area. The Murloc area is one of the least contested places ever. Just about nobody quests over here. Usually people skip this part. And I think that with multiple layers and stuff, this area will be great. But yeah, you do this little murloc area, and then you can come over to this area. Okay, so once you've done murlocs, you can come over to Borgarok Outpost. There's a few quests here. They're pretty easy. Again, once you're this far into the questing, you're like knee deep in questing. There's not gonna, especially with multiple layers, there's not gonna be a lot of people around doing these same quests. Like you can do these at level 70, but again, most people are gonna be grinding dungeons. You're probably just gonna be uncontested out here. And then let me show you the last two areas. Okay, so this is the next area that I usually come to. This is Cold Rock Quarry. It's somewhere over here. It's pretty close to Amber Ledge. But you talk to this rock dude, and then there's like a series of like 10 quests here. There's also a ton of mobs. It's super good for like as Affliction and for leveling in general. You're gonna be wanting to just be multi-dotting while you're moving. Not only does it keep it interesting, but it's also, you know, experience efficient. And you're going to get a bunch of extra gold and stuff. After this area, then I'll finally go over to the Nexus area and I'll start doing those pre-quests. Okay, so by this point, you're probably around 71 and a half. And you've done a few different questing zones. You probably got a decent amount of Corintor rep just from those few quests that I mentioned. What I do now usually is I will go ahead and I'll pick up all these quests around here. I'll do this quick quest chain. This is right next to the Nexus. And this Nexus quest chain is actually going to give you a bunch of Nexus dungeon quests. Basically, first off, you do all of these quests around here, and then you go ahead and you dungeon grind just for a little bit. Not too long, probably like 72 and a half, 73. And then turn in your quests and you'll be level 73 ideally, and you will also have a bunch of Corintor rep. One thing also is that if dual spec isn't in, I'm not gonna go and respec and reglyph and whatnot. I'm just gonna do those few Nexus dungeons as Affliction. It's really not that big of a deal. Okay, so now that you're level 73, you're going to come over to this beautiful questing zone. It's called Agmar's Hammer. This quest hub specifically has so many quests. If you're looking at my cursor as well, there's also an area right as you come into Dragonblight. I don't recommend doing a whole lot of quests, so you can do a few. I would recommend it if you are a melee DPS specifically. There's an attack power trinket from like the first 3 or 4 quests. But yeah, there's a few quests over here. Usually I skip that area and I come directly over to Agmar's Hammer. The thing about Agmar's Hammer is there's so many quests here, and they're all really easy. There's also a wanted poster over here, and that's going to have 3, or maybe it's over here. It's somewhere over here. It's one of these. Okay, here we go. It's right here. It's going to have 3 elite quests that they're going to be all around this zone, and you're basically going to hit those points anyway. Another thing that's good about this zone is it also gives you Corintor rep. Once again, if you're looking to maximize your reputation, you only really need friendly, because heroics are going to give you pretty much the easiest way of reputation grinding. But realistically, on a 1x reputation server, you're going to actually have to grind quite a bit. You may not even get exalted within your first day or so. So yeah, Agmar's Hammer, level 73. Make sure you pick up all the quests over here. Once you've done a few of these quests, I usually come over here. So yeah, once you've done that first quest zone, I'm actually lagging my ass off. There's going to be a bunch of little quests over here. They are dungeon quests. It's for Asjal Narub as well as Old Kingdom. Both of these, there's a ton of quests here. There's like 3 or 4 of them, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I would say go ahead and do one of each of these dungeons at least. I would even recommend if you're in a decent group, I would even recommend doing, I think a lot of people are going to be doing the Old Kingdom grind. I would go ahead and do a few of those just to you know, kind of break up the questing, as well as it's just going to be good experience. And one thing about experience grinding is just, you know, not changing zones all the time, not running around everywhere. Okay, so the next part of Dragonblight questing that I usually do, I usually come up here. You actually don't need flying. You would go down and talk to, so this NPC, his name is, holy Christ, Teriel Straz or something. Anyway, you talk to him, and then he flies you up to this top area up here. And this is a good questing hub that you want to definitely do. I usually go ahead and do all these quests, but specifically because a few of these quests, I've already actually done them, but they give you Wormrest Accord rep. And again, this is another reputation that you're going to need at level 80, because it has your pre-raid bis. It has your pre-raid bis boots right here. It doesn't really, I mean, it has okay bracers and a pretty decent belt, but realistically, you're only doing this to get friendly so that you can grind out the boots. But yeah, this quest hub doesn't take too long, and it gives you Wormrest rep. It'll also lead you over to this area that I'm pointing at. It's Obsidian Dragon Shrine. So yeah, this is for Wormrest rep and just a bit more experience. Okay, so now that you've done Agmar's Hammer, some dungeon grinding, some dungeons, dungeon quests as well, and you've done the introduction to the Wormrest reputation, you probably have about friendly reputation, but this last spot in Dragonblight is really good for experience as well. It's called Venom Spite. There's going to be a ton of quests over here. It's like 10 or 15, and then several different follow-ups. I usually spend a long time here. If I had to guess on your exact experience that you're gonna get here, I would stay here until level 75. Reason being is that this quest hub is just so condensed into this area. You're really not going all over the place. And even let's say you were to finish at like 74 and a half, you can always just go back and do a couple more runs of heroic or of Old Kingdom or whatever everybody else is doing in the dungeons. Again, I don't respec at this point. I'm just purely Affliction and, you know, just kind of taking my time. Okay, so now that you've done Dragonblight, you've gotten a couple of important reputations to friendly, as well as not drain your sanity by doing Utgard Keep or the Nexus 600 times. You should be around level 75. I would recommend being level 75 once you get here. But this next area is Grizzly Hills. This is Conquest Hold. I would stay here until level 76. This whole quest chain, it's super simple to follow. I don't think that a lot of people are going to be doing Dragthron Keep, so you don't really have a choice there. But specifically in Conquest Hold, there is an arena quest. So it's this little middle part where you fight like a bear or whatever. So there is a group quest that's going to give you decent gear. And the rest of this area, or the rest of this zone, is going to be all over this area. There's several different horde camps that it takes you to. There's also something about this area that is like, it's just cool to me. I don't know what it is, but I really don't have a problem with questing in Grizzly Hills. Maybe it's because I've done the quest so many times, but there's just so many different areas, and it's kind of a pretty area. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would stay here until level 76. The only caveat to that would be if you see somebody in looking for group and you see them advertising this thing called Ring of Blood, I would definitely whisper them and make sure that you can get in. Because, I mean, assuming that it's not too packed, if it's too packed, I mean, don't even bother. But if you're able to get into a group just that's looking for an EPS that already has a tank and a healer, I would hop right on that, because that's probably half of a level. But if you can't manage to get that, I would just stay on Grizzly Hills. Again, some of these quests are pretty not innovative, but they're unique. I'll say that. And yeah, yeah, it keeps my interest at least. Okay, so now that you're level 76, I'm going to assume that you already did the Ring of Blood at some point. But if you didn't, definitely do that now. It's going to give you a really big weapon. But moving on with the guide, at level 76, I usually come over to Zuldrak. The leveling starts getting substantially better right at level 77. So you're right on the cusp of your journey to level 80 being basically done. So if you're feeling kind of exhausted at this point, worry not, because you're almost to the, like, you can start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's not just because level 77 is closer to 80. You have so many choices at 77. But anyway, I'll get to that. At level 76, you come over here to Zuldrak, to the Argent Stand. Again, if you haven't done Ring of Blood, do that. But I generally, there's a group quest here. There is a bunch of other different quests around this area. I usually don't go too far into this quest hub because it's kind of annoying. It makes you like get into a ghoul and you're having to do all this, like it's like it reminds me of role-playing stuff, so I generally try and skip as much of this as I can. The reputation that you're getting in this area is also Knights of Ebb and Hold, which is pretty useless for a warlock. But if you're a melee DPS watching this, I would definitely do this. I would just at least make sure that you're friendly with Ebb and Hold, or Ebb and Blade rather. But yeah, all of Zuldrak, you can just stay here until about 76 or so. And you're also within the vicinity of Gundrak. I would definitely, if there is a group that is starting in Gundrak, I would definitely try and get into that. And if you're looking at my cursor up here it's Zolmaz Stronghold area. It's like northeast of that. There's going to be dungeon quests for Gundrak up there. There's actually a lot of dungeon quests. Gundrak is also, it's one of those dungeons that I don't really mind doing a bunch of times. So I would actually, if you see a dungeon group for Gundrak, I would go ahead and do that until 77. But again, if you're tired of dungeon grinding, you can just do the Zuldrak questing. It's really not that bad here. Okay, so once you're level 77, you should come over to Storm Peaks. This area is called K3. If you've reached this point in the guide, congratulations. You are now in the promised land for leveling. It only gets better from here. You have so many different options at level 77. And I'm going to get into a bunch of those, but specifically I like to start at Storm Peaks. And at Storm Peaks you can actually either choose to get cold weather, or you can talk to this guy and he'll give you a loner mount for free. It's the exact same as having this regular mount, it's just like a longer cast. But yeah. So on with the questing part. So the questing part is you're basically just going to do all these quests at this hub. This also starts your Sons of Hodir reputation grind. You're definitely going to want to do this for your shoulder enchants. And there's another aspect of this that makes it pretty fun, is that when you're doing these quests, when you go over to the Sons of Hodir quest chain area, it's up here in, what is this, Brunhildar village. If you go inside this cave here, there's going to be, I think they're called Vrykul or Vrykul or something. These mobs actually drop relics of Ulduar, and those, I can already tell that those are going to be those are going to be really expensive. So if you get here pretty quickly, if you're in this area, not only are you going to knock out your shoulder enchant reputation grind, but you're also going to be able to sell these relics of Ulduar, probably for ridiculous amounts. So you're making a ton of gold out here as well. Okay, so this is actually my favorite part of the guide. Congratulations, you have hit level 78. Now, the best part about level 78 is that you have so many options, because you've only quested in a few of the areas. You haven't hit most of the interesting stuff. So right at level 78, what I vouch to do, you're going to want Argent Crusade rep. It gives you a pretty good ring. What I vouch you do is you come over to Argent Vanguard, start the questing, the entire chain by talking to, it's one of these guys over here. But yeah, this whole area is going to give you a bunch of different trinkets and stuff. It's going to give you really good boots. It's a very linear questing zone. It's very easy. So yeah, I like to start here. And then once you're about 78 and a half or so, you're going to end up over at the Shadow Vault. There's also a Zeppelin in the air that flies around. That's going to have a ton of quests. Again, these quests are going to give you a ton of gold too. It also brings you to what was this called? It's called the Bombardment. There's like little guys here that they're just standing there, and they're gonna give you a bunch of quests there. But yeah, I usually come here at 78. The next area that I usually go to is Sholazar Basin. Reason being is that most of these quests over here are going to be, it's more just like kill quests, so it does get kind of boring, but it's also pretty easy. So, and it's a pretty short quest chain. So I would go ahead and knock this out. You should be closer to level 79 by now. And one thing to note about this quest zone specifically in Sholazar is that you're probably going to have a lot of competition. This is a very popular questing area, but I would say it's still worth it. So yeah, this is Sholazar Basin right after Ice Crown is what I would do. Some honorable mentions are the Wintergrasp questing stuff that gives you honor. It's also going to give you experience, and it's essentially these Wintergrasp quests are also going to give you, it's basically like completing a dungeon quest, but it's very easy. So you can knock out like 7 or 8 of these quests in, you know, a 30-minute Wintergrasp battle. So yeah, around 78 is when all these different areas open up. It's Wintergrasp, it's Sholazar, Ice Crown. You can also continue doing Storm Peaks. All of these are really great options. At the same time, there's also all of the normal mode dungeons. Unfortunately, the people who created this game have decided not to give us random dungeon finders, so you're actually going to have to fly to all these different dungeons. But a lot of these dungeons have the quests inside of, like, right at the entrance. Some quests that I would, or some dungeons that I recommend you do Utgard Pinnacle normal. I recommend you do Coaling normal. Both Halls of Stone as well as Halls of Lightning. Oh, and while you're at, if you pass up Dalaran, I would go ahead and do a Violet Hole dungeon run. That's also going to give you Corintor rep. And then honestly, if you're level 79, you have so many options. You should be at least 79 by now. You can also do the Oculus. Now the Oculus specifically is going to have quest hubs or dungeon quests right next to the Nexus in this area that you originally quested at level 72. So yeah, basically if you make it to level 78, you have so many options. You have so many fun questing hubs and different things that you can do. So many different dungeons that you're pretty much level 80 at level 78. You're going to make a ton of gold doing this. It's not that expensive. It's a whole lot better, in my opinion, than doing Utgard Pinnacle, or not Utgard Pinnacle, but it's a whole lot better than doing Utgard Keep 50 times, Gundrak 60 times. Like, that just sounds, I don't know why you would do that to yourself. That just sounds so awful. So yeah, that's the full guide. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, thanks for watching.